Chapter 1.1, Part 3. This is going to be a big one, so I apologize for the massive amount of videos. So implied line is implied by a series of marks. So it's not an actual line. There's not a continuous line that we're looking at, but it's an implied line. So it can be dots. It can be sort of like a straight line in these cases that is broken. It also can be, if you look at this sort of edge of this thing, it's not a line per se, but it does have an edge to it, if that makes sense. Implied lines don't have to be actual drawn lines. It can be text, they can be letters, whatever. And then also we see the top of this is there's a line here of the telephone poles. So I know that there's telephone lines, but we're not really counting that. So actual lines, this is some good examples of a diagonal that is a straight line, a curved line, a nice geometric fat line, sort of a squiggle gestural line, and a thick sort of messy line. So the edges of this start to get into the implied area, but it is continuous because you think of it as thick in here. It's not broken. Okay, so we're looking at a Franco-German, Pentateuch with prophetical readings and the 5 scrolls. So this has a lot of implied line. When you really look up close to these edges, you're going to see that this is actually text. It isn't actually a line drawn there. This is all text and written in Hebrew. Okay, so all of these lines making up these characters and these writings are going to be made out of letters. So that's a good example of implied line. 1, it's broken, and 2, it's not made up of an actual line. So that's the micrography from Jewish art, and the text border appears to be an ornate line drawing from a distance. So it's a really beautiful piece. Another example, similar, The Devil Made Me Do It. This is very early 20th century. This is 2006, and it's kind of the way graphic design was going. This is a Dutch graphic design company, but you can see THE, The Devil Made Me Do It. So there's some lines in here that you can't exactly see unless you really look. But these are all broken lines here that are implied lines. There's another implied line swirling around here, and some dots and dashes in various places. Okay, so horizontal, vertical lines, we got that. Directional line. Now, directional line is a little bit what I was talking to you earlier about. When we want to really focus our attention with an artwork, this is a very important artwork, 3rd of May. Very rebellious for Goya to do this at this time in 1808. These are Napoleon's soldiers, and they're shooting a man who is resisting. And there's so many things about this piece that I could say, but when we're focusing on line, we can see how our eye's going. We're coming down this hill. That's a heavy directional diagonal line. That's the first thing that's pulling us into the action of the soldiers. Intentional, right? So a directional line going that way. Then we're kind of following the soldiers' feet, another diagonal. And you can see their posture, too, is at a diagonal, if you look at that. Then that's bringing us here. Then we're going to go up here, and these bodies that have fallen, and they're at diagonals and irregular shapes is going to bring us up here, and then we're going to come up. We also have the implied line here of the rifles. So that's a direction, that's getting our focus. There's some other color and contrast things going on here too, but in terms of line, it's trying to get us to get attention. So it's a very powerful work, not only for the subject matter and the beauty of the painting, but also for some of the tricks that are used in the elements and principles. Okay, so James Allen, we have some beautiful line work here, and there's some kind of scratchy looking marks. There's some sort of etching looking